And dude, thank you so much for doing this, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure.
All right. You ready to go? You ready to go, bro? Oh,
Ready to
you're
go?
looking good. Let me check out that watch, bro, real quick.
What's
Let me
wrong?
see what you. Let me. What is it? Is that a Cartier or
Right
Rolex?
here.
Cartier.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Cool. All right. This is gonna be good. Okay. Well, I have a real. Let me start this over because I was about to say something from another podcast that I listened to, and I was about to jump into it that way, and I was like, "Why am I copying theirs?" All right.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right. Well, I'm here today with my man, Carlos Colon. And this dude is doing some amazing things. And I just want to give you guys a rundown before I bring him on because, I mean, this guy went from zero to millions on investments. He focuses on so many different areas and he has figured out the passive income game like nobody else. And he's a different kind of guest than I brought in because a lot of times the guests that I'm bringing in are, somehow tied to real estate or mortgage. And while he's in the real estate, one of his one of the businesses that's making the most amount of money right now has nothing to do with real estate, and it's this passive income game that a lot of people are starting to do. But it's still, in my opinion, a really what I would consider a best kept secret. um, what really attracted me to Carlos was not only did I know he was in this business, but he was actually successful with it. And there were some testimonials of people that were working with him that told me about him. And I'm going to share with you what he's doing because you got to hear about this hack on gaining passive income. But my man is seeing success. He's rocking diamond crusted watches. He's driving around in a Lambo. He's living the life. But what I liked about him is that when I chose who I was going to work with, there's a lot of people who are in this game, in this automation game, in the e-commerce automation game, that are young, these 22-year-olds that don't have anything to lose. And the reason that I picked him is because this dude is a family man. He's a man of God. He has a lot of faith. And when I looked at who I wanted to work with, I wanted to look with somebody who had something to lose if they weren't doing the right business. And as I've gotten to know Carlos, I've just been super impressed. And so, Carlos, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you today. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you.
So, dude, I got to hear your story, man. So, we talk a lot on our podcast about people who have seen, who have grown up or have felt or have experienced some level of failure or, having to really, find success through grinding, right? And having to do something that a lot of people aren't willing to do. Tell me your story, man. I want to hear, how because you're from Puerto Rico, right?
Yep.
And you've moved around. I know you spent some time in Boston, Ohio. You're now based out of Florida. Tell me about how you came up and how you ended up doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah, it'll be my pleasure. And I'm gonna be fully transparent with you, Chris. This is the first time that I'm gonna share this with an audience.
Oh,
Like
dude.
in a podcast. I've always been pretty private, but I think that it's important that we show our vulnerabilities and that we really put it out there. And you know what? People are going to judge and people are going to say whatever, but it is what it is. It's my story and I'm going to own it. So yeah, I was born in Puerto Rico. I was raised there. I'm not gonna tell you that we were dead broke and we come from absolutely nothing, but we come from very humble beginnings. I slept in a mattress. Once in a while I had a roach or two crawling on me while I was sleeping. But in Puerto Rico they fly, so it's pretty wild.
Dude, roaches that fly, bro. I can handle a snake. I could handle, but a roach that flies, bro. I don't even know I don't even know what to do with that. That's just next level.
Yeah, man. So we grew up in Puerto Rico. I moved to a little town south of Boston called Fitchburg in Massachusetts when I was 12 years old. And man, it was a struggle. It was a struggle from there. We grew up on the other side of the tracks. I was from a very early age, I was in the streets and I was doing things whatever I thought I needed to do to survive. You know, now as an older man, I know that there were different choices that I could have made, but back then, that, you know, that's what I thought was the right thing to do to survive. So I grew up in the streets, and you know, about 12, 13 years old, I found boxing, and
Ah.
I think that boxing was super. I tell everyone, you know, fighting
Mm-hmm.
saved my life, because if I didn't have, even though I was just like half-ass focused on it, if I didn't have that focus, who knows where I'll be dead in prison, or who knows.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I started boxing, and I started like surrounding myself with other people that really didn't have a lot going, but they wanted something more. And that's one thing that I've always known. Like, I'm like, you know, I don't have a lot going on, but I always want more. But you know, fast forward now, you know, as an older man, you know, I realized that my biggest enemy wasn't that I grew up poor, wasn't that I grew up without a father, wasn't that I grew up on the other side of the tracks. It was that I grew up with myself, and I was my biggest enemy. And every single time that I would start getting some traction,
Mm-hmm.
I would find a way to like sabotage myself. I will find a way to like mess it up. And
Why do you think we do that? I mean, clearly that you've thought about this, right? Because I have been in a very similar, you know, coming up, very similar situations. But why do you think that happens? Why do you think that our brain does that to us? To figures out ways to put us in a position where we're in a constant state of back against a wall and having to dig out of a mistake, but that we clearly knew was a mistake getting into it.
you know, I'm without speaking science, because I'm not a scientist, and I'm not going to pretend that I am. But in my limited knowledge, what I think it is fear. It's
Mm-hmm.
fear of the unknown. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
there's a saying like the devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't know. And I think that we get in a state of a comfort, whatever, even if it sucks,
Mm-hmm.
and we always go back to it because it's easier, right? Because you know how to handle it. Like, okay, you know, this sucks going
Mm-hmm.
hungry. This sucks that I can barely pay my rent, but I know how to handle that. You know, I know what I need to do. If I put in a couple extra hours, if I, you know, hustle here and there, I could buy some, you know, a 99-cent cheeseburger, whatever it is. And then we go back to that thinking that it's going to be easier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and every time I did it, it was like, okay, I moved up a little bit more, and then I screwed it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I moved a little bit more, and then I screwed it up.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I was like, man, this has to change. Like, this cannot keep going. This it's just, that's no way to live. And you know, if I could attribute like where I am today, and this is probably going to sound really aggressive, but where I am today is the result of like the last 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't even been like, it's not, you know, yes, I've been working since I was a kid. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the work in sales, and I've been doing a lot of different things to really learn my craft. But it was like 8 years ago it clicked. It was like, this can't keep happening. This
Yes.
cannot keep happening. Otherwise, I'm gonna be that 60, 70, 80-year-old, whoever, you know,
Mm-hmm.
going through the same crap. And it's just not fair. It's not fair to my children, it's not fair to my wife, it's not fair to my community,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not fair to me. So it really took me like looking in the mirror. And I have a picture of that, because I remember looking in the mirror and just being completely disgusted with who I was looking at.
Wow.
And again, this is probably the first time I'm sharing
Were you
this.
married at the time?
Yeah, yeah. And I was,
How long had you been married, if you remember? Like, how long, was it early in the marriage? I don't know, you know, how long you had been married, but because that's a big transformation, right? Like, you have to come home every day, and if you don't love who you are as an individual, and you don't, you know, you can't accept who you are, and or you don't, you know, because a lot of times when we're doing bad shit to ourselves, it's because we don't respect ourselves the way, you know, the way we should, and we don't love ourselves the way that we should. And so when you think about how do you get into a relationship, right, and expect somebody else to treat you well if you're not treating yourself well? So how did that decision for you not only impact you but your wife? Like, did it bring you guys closer
yeah.
when you made that call?
Yeah, so I have a blended family.
Okay.
You know, I was with my ex for a long time, and
Hmm.
I've been with my wife now for almost 9 years. And you know, it takes two people to ruin things, but I take a lot of the blame. You know, I take a lot of the blame, and I think that it was mostly, if not all, my fault previously. And I was just thinking to myself, I can't make the same mistake. I can't. I have to make sure that I learn from it and that I, you know, evolve as a person. Because like,
absolutely,
we get stuck in these mannerisms and this way of being, and this machismo and this and that, and we think that that's the only way to be.
it's all a defense mechanism. It's all, you know, it's all an exterior shell that it's like, and you know, what's crazy, because what also protected you as a kid from going a different route into the boxing world, when you put yourself into in an atmosphere of dudes in a locker room or in a there's a lot of shit talking. I mean, that's like you have testosterone central, bro. You know what I mean? So it's hard for you not to. But then at some point you got to grow up, right? You got to lay down the armor and know that it's okay. You started off this conversation with it. It's okay to be vulnerable. And it's weird because I went through a lot of the same things, you know, like I used to always be ashamed of the fact that I didn't go to college. I don't know why I cared. But it wasn't until like in the last, you know, 5, 6 years that I kind of embraced it as who I am. And like, man, I got to where I'm at because instead of going to school, I went out and hustled, you know? And so, but for whatever reason, for years and years and years, it was like, I felt bad about it, you know? And then finally I was like, man, I'm who I am, you know, and that's all good. I don't really care about that, but it took me a while to get there. And it sounds like you went through some of the same things. So what were some of the things that you changed when you were there in the mirror and you decided you were disgusted with who you were? What were some of the first steps that you took to start to build a new person?
I started taking account of my life, right? I started like really like going back, not just beating myself up. For a little while, yeah, I beat myself up, but it was more like, okay, I failed in all these areas. Where did I find successes? Where did I find a couple of little wins here and there? And it all boiled down to a few things. It wasn't much because I tell people all the time, like I used to think that I was like a professional, a POS, you know, a professional POS. So I started taking account of like, where are my wins? And I was like, okay, I was really good in sales. That I've always been. But I needed to improve. I have one sales manager in one of my jobs. I still remember him to this day. His name is Jack Bond. If he ever listens to this, I love that man for what he did to me. And I remember we were having a conversation, and I wanted a promotion. I was working at a car dealership, and I wanted a promotion. And I was like, you know, I sell this many cars. I've been doing well. Like I make all this money. Can I get, you know, why am I not getting that promotion? Why is that promotion going to somebody else who's like way less successful in sales? And he said, well, you want me to lie to you or you want me to tell you the truth? And I said, it'll be nice if you told me the truth. And he said, and am I allowed to be?
Yeah, cuss, man, dude. This is all good.
He said, he looked me in the face. And he was, you know, army guy, you know, he's not intimidated by anybody either. And he looked at me, he said, you're an asshole. And he was like, you're an asshole and you only care about yourself. That's why you won't get that promotion. And I just stood there like in shock, like,
because no one's ever told you this, right? No one's, I mean, you might have told you this. You kind of know in the back of your head when you're an asshole. If you're an asshole in life, you know you're an asshole. Right? You should be somewhat self-aware, right? So the fact that you're hearing it, it's so piercing, man. It's so piercing. So what did you do with that? What did you do with that information? How did you digest it?
I quit.
Oh shit. You quit?
I quit. Like a week later I was gone. But it stayed.
Why did you quit? I got to hear this. I mean, was it because your ego told you to quit or because you didn't think you could ever like dig yourself out of a hole that you felt you had built there?
So I got a big head. I got a big giant head that I was born with. And back then, because I was selling like so many cars and I was like the top 3 salespeople in the state, my head was much bigger. And I don't think I was able to take it. And I'll be fully honest, I just couldn't take it. He hurt my ego, my pride so badly that my first reaction was to run away. And then I remember, and that's what kind of started trickling down. I felt like a coward. I was like, I ran away like a little punk because I couldn't handle that somebody told me the truth to my face.
Man,
like he was lying to me. It's something that I already knew, but when somebody tells you and they tell you in that manner, I was like, shit, I need to change something. So it hit me. And to this day, I thank him for it, because that was a pivotal point in my life. When he looked me in the face and he looked at me like I was nothing special, and he told me how he felt about me, I knew right there and then, not only that I needed to change, but that I also needed to be a little bit more like that. I needed to be a little bit more like him, which is why some of my mannerisms and the way I communicate with people is so direct. A lot of people still think that I'm, somewhat of an asshole, I guess, but it's more like I'm just very raw and to the point. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, because
you can't, man. I mean, and I think we live in a world where people, especially in the sales world, we tend to want to be agreeable with people, right? Because who wants confrontation? But I also think that the way that I've always managed it is I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on, very similar to your old boss. I don't know that I would say asshole, but I try to be as direct as possible with people. But what I find is, like, I don't like it when people aren't that way with me. Like, I feel like there's something, they want to say, they're not saying it, because I feel like if you always know where you stand with the people you work with, or the people that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't always have to mean there's a breakup involved. It doesn't have to mean that, I'm going to give you this feedback and it means that we're going to go separate ways. It's that I'm giving you this feedback because we're both going to get better from it. Right. Yes. And there's two types of perspectives. There's my perspective, which could be completely wrong and completely misunderstood, but I got to talk to you about it so that I don't live with these assumptions that, I'm feeling based on your behavior or whatever. But I do believe that, one of the best qualities of leaders is being candid and telling people what's up. Because if I work with you and you're like, hey man, you're just being an asshole, then I'm probably being an asshole, and so, so I love that, man. I love that if one thing you learn from that, I'm so surprised that you quit, but one thing you learn from it, and that you're also giving that guy credit for it, is the fact that you learn to be super candid. How do you feel like that's helped your business and helped you interact with people?
So, and for the record, I'm still friends with him now.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm still friends with him.
Oh,
now.
that's awesome.
And
that's
I love him dearly. I love him dearly. So I have a partner. His name is Ryan. I think you know that.
Oh yeah, I know Ryan.
And one of the things that me and Ryan have, that we constantly preach, and I'll go back to your question, is accountability. And then I think I even posted it yesterday on social media, is legal, ethical, and moral.
Yeah.
And it has to be legal, ethical, and moral. And one of the things that did for me, right? So going back to that conversation, was I knew that I needed to figure out how to care more for others than for myself.
Empathy, brother.
Which I lack very much, because I never had it, right? So I never had a, not really a father figure. My coach, was a when I would throw his business out there, my original coach, he was a convict that did the program, the boxing program, as a community service. So that was my father figure, and for many years. And he showed me what it was to be a street person, but still be able to care for others and in your team. So,
I mean, in a weird way, man, I think that is more gangster than not. Right. I mean, like, if you could, because that's where respect comes from. And that to me, that's gangster, right? It's having respect. But in order to get respect, you got to give a shit about people. You got to care. You got to really want to help people. And if you don't, it's going to come through, man. It's going to come through. So I agree with you.
So that's where the business changed, right? So I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I've been in sales. I think maybe I had a job or two that might have offered me an hourly pay or a salary. But other than that, I've always been commission based. I've always been relationship based. And when I started putting my client the client's needs before my own, it was transformative.
Mm-hmm.
I never realized. You hear it, the Zig Ziglars and the John Maxwell's and all these different, motivational speakers and personal coaches and all that.
Mm-hmm.
They all say it. If you do for others, if you get enough people to get what they want, eventually get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
You hear it and it sounds great, but when you see it happen, it's like, holy crap. Like, I just had this conversation. Last year we had an incredible year. It was a record-breaking year as a company. I was more proud that I had six-figure earners in my team than the amount of money that I made.
Absolutely.
And that made me so proud. And this year I'm like, I'm going to have seven-figure earners in my team and this and that. And that's what I want. That's like my goal. My goal is to see my clients do well. I want to see clients making so much passive income that, I want to be that little part of their story that really changed their lives. Making $1,000 extra a month is awesome. Making $2,000 is awesome. But seeing somebody go from possibly, I wouldn't say struggling, because I'm also very careful with the clients that I bring on, but somebody that might have had a tight budget to being able to now have a life, go on vacation, get an extra car, whatever it is, that's awesome. And that's what I'm driven by now. Like, I want to see people winning. And when I see people winning, I'm happy. It's just, until you really experience that feeling, you don't even know what it is. When you see somebody winning and you're like, man, I had a little part of that story, a little tiny part of that journey was because of me. That's amazing.
I mean, I got to tell you, it is something to experience when when you focus solely on the people that you're building around and that you're trying to help get to the next level of their career and truly break through in a way that they didn't believe in themselves initially, and they start to feel like they start to implement the things you're giving them, and they start to see the momentum, and then they start to come to you and like, do you have a CPA? What do I do with all this? I'm going to have tax problems now, and you start seeing them investing, differently. And then they're rolling into the parking lot with nice car, you know what I mean? And it's like, man, like the way you said it, it's like, I had a little bit of piece of that, right? Like, there was something we said that they were down and we pulled them up and that, to me, man. And I believe that if I put that out into the world, I don't even ever have to worry about my paycheck.
Yeah.
Right. Because that'll solve itself. And I never approach it like that. I never look at the individual and say, what is this individual going to make me? I think that's a terrible way to look at it. In fact, like when I'm looking to attract talent to work here at my company, I'm always looking for people who are at the low end. I'm looking for, like, in our world, like a $10 million, $5 million producer. They're forgotten at the companies they're at. So I try to grab those guys and turn them into $1 million, multi-million-dollar producers. And when you do that, the loyalty is insane, right? But then you have that what you called it, that sliver of, man, that guy helped me. And to me, that's the ultimate payoff. And I'm with you, man. I'm not trying to repeat what you said. I'm just like, it resonates so well, because that's, I think, what a lot of leaders miss when they're in our business. Right. And I totally think that that's something that needs to stick. So keep going, man. I love this story.
No, I mean, it's that's where we are now. Like, as a company now, we're looking for partners that share the same moral compass. Like, we don't want to work with people that don't want to work with us. It's not about the dollar. It's easy to, especially now, it's easy to make a dollar. But how do you nurture a relationship? How do you stretch that dollar so that 10 years from now you're still making a dollar, but that other person is also getting something? That's why I like the automation model. The automation with e-commerce, Amazon, Walmart, YouTube, etc. I love the fact that, you make some money in the beginning, the client pays a startup fee, but it's a profit split. If you don't make any money, we don't make any money. Mm-hmm. So the client has to win first for us to win.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're not winning. And we have a guarantee in our agreement. So if the client doesn't win for an extended period of time, we have to give that startup fee back. So it's not like we kept it and we're rolling in the dough with startup money. That's not the way that works. So
Well, let me jump in. I'm gonna stop you for a second because I wanna frame this because you're going into it, and I wanna frame it for the listener who has no idea about automation, has no idea about e-commerce. So let me kind of, for those that are listening, um, most people, when you think about passive income, at least my brain goes to real estate. I'm going to get a rental and I'm going to put it up short term, long term, or I'm going to flip it. I'm going to get, some income from that. And if it's long term, then you get passive income. Um, but Carlos figured out a way, right? And so for many, many years, my wife and I have done a lot of investments in real estate. So that's our go-to. Like, and it's, with an exception of 2008 through 10, we've always done well in real estate. But I also think it's smart to diversify. And one of the areas that I feel like people know about it, but this is still somewhat of a really good secret. And today we're going to share it with you. We're going to share the secret of how to get passive income with Carlos's company. And it's through automation. They're going to automate a way for you to get passive income through Amazon, through Walmart, through YouTube, Shopify, and the list goes on. And I'm gonna let him walk me through this like I have no idea about automation and how to make money, Carlos, in probably in 2 minutes. Like, tell me about this process. And then I also want to know how you got into it. But tell us this story, because I'm actually one of your clients, and I'm very happy with you. And before we end this, I'm going to also share with you what I like about you and why I went with you and why I stick with you, because I went a different route with another company and I noticed very, very vast differences. And it goes back to what you were talking about in your contract. When you get into this, you actually say, if you're not happy, we'll back off and give your money back. Like, you actually put that. If you're not making the kind of money you thought you were, like, we'll back out of it, right? And I'm paraphrasing, so you'd still read your contracts. But no one else is putting that in their contracts. And that's, to me, it goes to the type of individual that Carlos is, in building the relationships with his clients. So Carlos, let's take it from the beginning, man. Tell me about e-commerce and why this is blowing up.
So I believe that e-commerce is the future. So e-commerce, and let's just talk about, I'm just going to pick on Amazon for a second because they're the biggest. So if you have a product, right, you can sell that product in Amazon. You create a store, and then you place your listings, and now you're selling to the public. Mm-hmm. You're using Amazon's name and influence to promote your store. I call it a business because it is a business. And full disclosure, I tell everybody this: if you treat it like a business, it will pay you like a business. If you treat it like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby. Mm-hmm. So if you're serious about opening your own e-commerce business, whether it's on Amazon, Shopify, Facebook Marketplace, YouTube, whatever it is, you got to treat it like a business, and you got to understand that no business is ever going to be perfect. But if you stick with it, if you're patient, flexible, and you have the right team, then you could really create for yourself a way to make passive income, or quote unquote passive-ish income, right? There is a little bit of involvement from the client, right? So the way, this is a real estate podcast. So if this was real estate, you will be the property owner. We will be your property managers.
It's a really good way of putting it. Yeah.
So our job is to make sure that you're profitable, is to make sure that your customers are happy, that your product is being fulfilled, that we're putting in winning products into your store. So to take it from the top, you have a store on Amazon, mm-hmm. or on YouTube, or wherever it is. We're going to come in and we're going to fill that store with product. We're going to make sure that when somebody contacts your store, hey, I have a question about X product, somebody's there to answer. Mm-hmm. We're going to make sure that when somebody orders a product, that order gets fulfilled into the client. And we're going to make sure that we help you every step of the way be successful with that store. Because like I said earlier, if you don't win, we don't win either. And
so let me ask this question. Sorry. So as a client, right, if I'm listening to this, what you're going to help me do is create a store on Amazon, right? There's several steps leading up to that, but I'm going to create, essentially, you're going to help me create a store on Amazon. And for those of you that may not even know this, a lot of stuff that you buy on Amazon is not coming from Amazon. It's coming from people like you who, or people who are in the e-commerce business who have stores within Amazon. right? And so you can create a store as you would out on the street, out in the retail market, but you're going to do this on the internet through Amazon. And Amazon's going to be the platform, and Carlos's team is going to help you stock the store with inventory. They're going to handle customer service. They're going to handle all of your books, and they're going to help you understand what your return on investment is on the products that you're purchasing, right? I mean, you're going to take this from beginning to end with your client to help them create revenue stream every month through your store. Am I capturing that? Am I leaving anything out, Carlos?
Absolutely. It's digital real estate. It's digital real estate. At the end of the day, especially because of the state of the world, COVID took a hit on a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses that were brick and mortar, they had to go virtual.
Absolutely.
And this e-commerce exploded. We thought, like, I was running my own personal stores with when COVID hit, and I thought that was it. I actually closed one of my Shopify stores because the supplier just completely stopped supplying me with a product. So it was like somebody turned off the switch. Like when COVID hit, boop, store was done. And I was like, man, what's going to happen here? But what we realized very quickly is that now people cannot go to the store. They can't go to the mall. And even now, with some states and countries wide open, people are still concerned. People are still maybe not wanting to take a chance to be in a crowd. So now they built the habit of just ordering online. I order my groceries online. I order my self-care products online. There's a couple of things that I don't order online, like my meats and poultry and things like that. But everything else, I pretty much order online.
It's so funny you say that, but like I refuse to go to a grocery store. Like, unless I'm going, like, I got to go to my, my one place that I get my carne asada from, and then I want to pick my own, avocados, right? But like outside of that, man, to me, that's a process that I enjoy doing, but I won't buy anything else online. I mean, I won't buy anything else in person. If I could do it online, most of my groceries come because a habit got created during the pandemic of ordering groceries, and it never stopped. It became like easy for me to just jump on and click the products I normally buy and just, and then I order. So this window of opportunity opened up with companies like Amazon for you to be able to create product. But how do you do it? Like, how do you know which products to align to a store? How do you know which products are going to be available from an inventory perspective? Because, we're dealing with, an issue with getting product, into the hands of people. How do you do all that? How do you manage all that piece of it?
So I have an amazing team, first of all. That's the short answer to it. But we're looking, and another thing is I get this question a lot, like, oh, well, aren't I going to be competing with this other store? There's so much product out there. There are millions of products. There's variations of those products. There's so much product and opportunity out there. The one thing that I do, I'm not sure, there's some good automation companies out there. I'm not going to mention anyone. I'm not going to put anybody down or up. But one of the things that we do here at Ace Automation is we want to look for products that are practical, and we want to look for product that is not going to be, what's the word that I'm looking for? Controversial products. Like, we don't do CBD products. We don't do hemp products. We don't do skincare products, because while for some people that might be an amazing part of the, product line or whatever, for other people it's going to be like, oh, I don't want anything to do with it. So we stick to, looking for products that are everyday consumer wants. Appliances, furniture, office supplies, outdoor equipment. Those are things that are always going to sell. And what happens with Amazon is, and Walmart, the stores, they start taking shape, right? You go into it, you happen to buy an office chair from my store. You like the office chair, I deliver it on a timely fashion. I deliver the service just like promised. You go in there and leave me a nice review. Hey, this guy's all right. I got a nice office chair, and it was exactly what I wanted. Next thing you know, you come back and you happen to buy a computer for your office, and you leave another review. And that happens, right? That happens with a bunch of different customers that are going in, and that store starts taking shape. Next thing you know, you have a bunch of good reviews that are pointing into office equipment. So what we do as a company is we start eliminating the other products, and we start doubling down on these office equipments and supplies. to make sure that your store has somewhat of an identity, so that when people are looking for office supplies, chances are now your store has a bunch of great reviews, your store is going to pop up. Now, the same thing will happen to the next client, and the next client just happened to sell a toaster and, you know, a small microwave or whatever it is. So we make sure that we take these businesses, these e-commerce businesses, and spend enough time in them to understand where the business is going to go and how we're going to make that particular business more profitable, versus just having a bunch of different products. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for products that are practical. We're looking for products that are going to have a certain amount of profit, so that the client, when they look back, they can say, okay, I made 6% on this product. I made 10% on this product. So this is my return. So yeah, and it's a ton of product research. We have a team that's all they do, product research.
So okay. So I now have a store, right? I have, you know, a virtual marketplace that people can come to and shop, right? And the way they do that is they go on Amazon and you look for a product. And depending on, like you say, the number of reviews, the how popular your store becomes over time, that creates placement within Amazon of your product, right? So I type in, I need an office chair. The office chair pops up. You're the company that does it. Customer goes in, clicks, and then they purchase, and the chair shows up to their house, and then they put a review. Who purchases the chair? And how does that all work, and who are we wholesaling through? How does that all work in terms of getting the inventory? So do you sit on, you know, inventory, or do you purchase from other places? How does the logistics work on that? And how do me as your client, how much involvement do you need from me in that process?
Sure. So there's 3 different models. I mean, there's multiple models. They're hybrid models, etc. But there's 3 main models. And now I'm going to talk about Amazon, because that's kind of like where I'm at. So there's a dropship model. Now the dropship model, picture three little bubbles, right? Here's your store. The client buys it. You buy it from the supplier ships it to the client. That is the dropship model. So essentially you have listings on your store. You don't have inventory, you have listings. When somebody buys that listing, it lets the supplier know that somebody purchased that product. It is purchase capture. The client pays for it with their money or credit card or credit line, and then that supplier sends it to the customer. And then whatever the profit is goes to Amazon, and Amazon takes their fees, and then whatever's left over goes to you.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there, because I want this to be clear, because this took me a little bit to understand this, right? So I want the listener to understand, because I think if you're somebody out there that's actually interested in getting into passive income, or getting, you know, and you have, if you're looking around where to invest your money outside of real estate, this is a really good place to do it. But check this out. So you have a listing on Amazon for your store, and the listing is for an office chair. And let's say the office chair, because Carlos and his team are so good at this, they priced that office chair at $50. So they know, because they've done research on this office chair, that they have a supplier somewhere that will sell them that office chair for, let's just say, $25 or $30 or whatever. Let's just go with 25. So as soon as that person clicks buy, Carlos's team, this is where the word automation comes in. They now take that, they go to their supplier that they know, and they purchase that for $25, ship it to the client. It arrives at the client's home. And now you've made, right now, Amazon's going to charge you a little bit of a fee. You're going to have a little bit of a shipping fee from the supplier as well. But then you take all that, and when you add up what it cost you to purchase it, $25, Amazon fees and your shipping fees, now you're probably at $32, but the client bought it for $50. So the difference between what they purchased and what you bought it for is your profit. And where do you come in? How do you make your money, Carlos, from from that profit model?
So at the end of the month, and I made this little
you go.
Third grade diagram here. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So from the customer to the Amazon store to the supplier, and the supplier sends it right back to the customer.
Yes.
So
I love that.
The easiest way to understand it. So the way we get paid as a company is we do a profit split. So depending on the agreement that we come up with the client, it'll be 50-50. 60-40 to the client, 70-30 to the client. At the end of the month, let's just say the client made $10,000, 10,000 net. I call it the gross net. They're on a 70-30 split. They're gonna keep 7,000. They're gonna send us 3,000, and that's how we make our money. So if the client makes zero, we make zero. If the client makes 10,000, we make, whatever it is, 30%, 40%, 50%, whatever that agreement is. And so it's in our best interest to make sure that these stores are as profitable as possible.
Okay, so let me stop you there. I'm gonna clear this up. So let's say, remember, I was talking about that same situation where you bought the chair. The chair was, $50 that the customer paid for it. You purchased it after fees and shipping and taxes and all that stuff. It would end up being like $32. So there's $18 left over that you gain. So as a client, I spent $32 to get that chair to the customer, right? As the store. Client, and you managed all of it. I didn't need to do anything with this client. I mean, the customer went on, they purchased it, and Carlos and his team fulfilled the order. Now there's $18 in profit there. Carlos is going to make his money because he's going to do a split with you on that money. Let's say it's 50-50. You're going to split $18, right? So you spent $32 to make $18, and then you're going to split half of that. So now you made $9, right? And over time, when you do enough of these, your placement gets bigger, and month over month, that's how you start to grow, right? So tell me some success stories that you've seen, because I know them and I've seen it. I'm probably making, I want to say, I have a couple of friends and I that all do this together, and we were like, what's your ROI? What's your ROI this month? And I'm running like a 30% ROI on my store. And we're starting to get traction on it. So tell me, what do you normally see, and what can you expect? So once we get this running, how much am I making, over time with this?
So the longer the store goes, the better, right? But what I like to tell my clients is I always like to under promise and over deliver. My goal, I believe, a successful e-commerce store is gonna gross net, again before the splits, between 15 to 25%. So okay. Yeah, there are stores that do better. If you're doing 30, 20, 30, 40, even 50, awesome. But if you're hitting like 15%, think about this. You spend $100,000 on inventory. You're getting that $100,000 back. And then also on top of that, in the low end, you're getting $15,000 on top of it in 1 month. Mm-hmm. This isn't like I put $100,000 in the market and now I got to wait an entire year to make 6%. Mm-hmm. This is month after month. So if you're putting in this money into the inventory every single month you're getting a return. And that's just, to me, that's incredible. To me, that's like having like your own personal, I don't want to say ATM, but it's like your own personal bank inside of your own business. You're mm-hmm. creating money from your own money or your credit or your liquidity, whatever it is that you want to use. So 15% to me is a solid store. 25% is an amazing store. Anything over that is like, hey, little icing on the cake. But and that's just on the dropship model. There's other models, FBM, FBA, private label. Those are all models that have their own, their own setup fees and nuances and whatnot. But they also make you additional profits. So it's just what works for you. That's what we want to explore.
So this is amazing because, this is a really good way to test out different, if you're in real estate or if you're, let's just say you're playing the stock market, or whatever it is that you do, you're investing. This is another opportunity for you to start to get into something that I don't see going away anytime soon, right? It's just going to grow. And so you give people options to get Amazon stores. Walk me through all the different types of stores that you do and types of e-com automation models that you offer to clients.
So we do the Amazon dropship, and that comes in 3 different plans. There are 50-50 split, 60-40 split, 70-30 split. Nothing changes. It's just the only thing that changes is how much we're going to split as a company. So the more you take monthly, the bigger the startup fee is going to be, and vice versa. We also have the Amazon private label. Now, private label is, let's just say you want to start a sporting goods line. I will advise you on that, but I'll tell you my story, right? So I thought that because I was a boxer way back when, that I'll start like selling boxing equipment. Didn't really realize that there's so much competition. But let's just pretend that it worked out. uh, so you get now I create, let's just call it the CEC logo, right? So the CEC company is going to sell these boxing gloves. Well, I'm going to buy the boxing gloves from a supplier at wholesale. I'm going to buy 1,000 units. They're going to come to my warehouse or to the Amazon warehouse. Now, what's the difference? FBA or FBM, fulfilled by Amazon or fulfilled by merchant, right? So now I have these boxing gloves and I trademark my name, CEC Boxing. I created my logo. So now those gloves are going to have the logo stamped right on it. It's my logo. That's private label. So I start with boxing gloves. The store starts growing. I get boxing trunks, boxing t-shirts, headgear, things like that. And now you have a niche store, but you're buying all the product up front. So again, every store model fits a specific type of client, right? They all have the risk, right? So if you buy 1,000 gloves and they sit in a warehouse and they never sell, that's a risk. So I don't want to misrepresent this and tell you you're going to buy 1,000 gloves and now you're rolling in the dough. There needs to be a plan behind it. There needs to be PPC campaigns, marketing. We use micro influencers to push these products. So there's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes. Now you could do this yourself, but there's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes. So that's where we come in. The other model is wholesale, which is Amazon FBA wholesale, which is kind of like the drop shipping. You're going to have a bunch of different products, but we're going to buy them all up front. And they're going to go, some of them are going to go to the Amazon warehouse. Some of them are going to go into our warehouse. We also have Walmart, even though Walmart's on hold right now, just to be clear, Walmart is on hold. We're not moving on Walmart right now, this very second. It doesn't mean that a week from now that's going to change. So I just want to make sure I say that. We have YouTube, and YouTube is pretty awesome. As you get a channel, we'll run the channel for you. We'll add, content, compilation videos, things like that.
My buddy has one, and I was so curious about it. I was like, so what are they doing with your? He's like, dude, it's just TikTok videos. Like and he's like compilation, and he's like, and I'm getting, dude, I get so many views. I'm like, yeah, because my kids are watching those. Like, because my kids don't have TikTok, but they'll get on YouTube and watch like a whole bunch of somebody just compiles them and they watch them. And I'm like, this is a business. That is a true business of entertainment that you guys are putting together, and you're making money off it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome. And hey, I said that Amazon was passive-ish income. YouTube is passive income.
Yeah.
You set up the YouTube channel automated with us, and you literally set it and forget it and collect a paycheck every month.
Insane, dude. So this is crazy.
I love that model. I love all the models, but I love that model because somebody that truly wants passive income, they say, hey, Carlos, I want to invest this money. It's just sitting there. I call it lazy money. Just money sitting in my bank account doing nothing for me. I want to put it somewhere that's going to give me a return. Hey, YouTube is a great idea.
Well, there's a sentiment. I'm glad you said it because there's a whole sentiment, right? Like, and I'm not going to be the first to say this. In fact, I just learned this, that people who are millionaires, multimillionaires, have a secret, and the secret is they're not saving their money. The moment whatever passive income or whatever income they bring in to their home, they're immediately looking for ways to invest. And this shifted for me. Like, I used to want to have X amount in 401k, like there was a goal that I wanted to hit. And then I was like, what if we just take all that money and just invest into different things, invest in properties, invest in e-commerce, and then you start to grow your money. And let's say you invest in 10 things and 3 of them take off, 2 of them fail, and the other 3, you break even, you're going to win. And so the more opportunities you're looking for as an investor, the more upside you're going to have. And all of it is a risk, right? So, 3 buddies of mine and I are all working with Carlos in actually 4 of us are working with Carlos in different variations, and we're all in different places within our success with it. And so what I love seeing is when I see somebody that's crushing it, I'm like, we're going to get there because they're 2 steps ahead of us, timing wise. But I love the model. And one of the things that I noticed that you say, Carlos, and I love the way your contract was written, because it has actually your personality in it. But you're like, hey, like, so let me actually take it back, because I mentioned this earlier, but you actually say, if you're not getting the wins from this that we anticipated, I'll give you your money back. We don't want to have a pissed off client, right? But let me ask you this. So if I want to invest in, and I want to get into this because I like what I just heard, what's the upstart money? And then you mentioned something like, I'm going to buy the inventory, right? And there's really no inventory. It's more of a listing. So the moment that person clicks on the listing to purchase something, who purchases the item from the supplier to get it over? And then how does that work? Walk me through that scenario. And I know the answer, but I want you to kind of
No,
explain
no,
it to the
absolutely.
people that are listening.
Absolutely. So the client that comes, the client that wants to partner with us has to have liquidity to purchase the store. So they start at 15,000 for like a Facebook Marketplace store, and they go 20, 30, 40, 50,000 depending on which model
Mm-hmm.
you want to do. But let's talk about drop shipping, because we spent a little bit more time talking about drop shipping.
Yep.
If you want to jump into a drop shipping model, let's just call it the 50-50 model, right? You want to do 50-50, it's 20,000, right? So 20,000 goes to start up the store. That's the fee that we retain. And then you got to have credit, or the ability to get credit, or additional liquidity. I've had people that have used just, hey, I got an extra $100,000 in the bank, let's just use that. That's okay too. But what's going to happen is when somebody buys that listing, that's when your credit card is going to get charged for the supplier.
Okay.
So you're not going to have like this balance on your credit card. If something doesn't sell, your credit card is going to be at a zero balance.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody buys something like that chair for $25, and then the fees or whatever, $32, that's the $32 that you're going to get charged on your card. We're going to sell it for $50. So when Amazon pays you back, which goes directly to your account, we don't touch it. One of the things that we do to protect the integrity of the program, we don't touch your credit card, we don't touch your bank account. That is yours. We are your managers. The business is yours. You keep the LLC. Some other companies don't do it like this, which
Mm-hmm.
is the reason why I got into automation. And if you want me to talk about that, I'll talk about that. But some companies set it all up for you, and you almost held like hostage to do business
Mm-hmm.
with them. We don't do that. Everything is in your name. If you want to kick us to the curb for some odd reason, you keep it all. You keep the store, you keep your bank accounts, you keep your LLC, and we're fired. So Amazon pays you, and then the following month, we'll send you an invoice. You pay us for our fee. We provide you with a spreadsheet that has everything broken down with the fees, what went to Amazon, what went to the suppliers. You match that with your credit card statement or your CPA or whoever you're using for accounting. And then you pay us our fee, whatever it is, 50%, 60%, 70%. But
So let me ask you this. This is a really good. So you're purchasing on a credit card, and then you send me an invoice to charge those fees, and then you allow me to pay your fees through that same credit card, correct?
You can pay your credit card however you want. Yes,
No,
you
but
can.
you'll let me pay your fee with, like, the fee that I owe you. I could put that on that same credit card, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So here's what I'm gonna here is what really interested me, right? Because I knew that this model can make money. But I was like, if I just break even, and let's just say I'm doing, I don't know, let's say I can work it all the way up to $100,000 a month on a credit card, and I break even. Let's just say I don't even make a dollar. $100,000 on a credit card with really good point system allows me to go anywhere in the world every year with my family first class, right? So I was like, this is the best hack on actually getting points and memberships through something, right? And so all those transactions start to rack up. And so if you do it on a credit card, you can do the research on which is the best credit cards. That's a whole different discussion. But there's a really big win here on points and what you could do with that. But then I'll tell you from my personal experience, we've been doing this for about 6 months, and we're at about a 30% ROI month over month, which is pretty amazing. And we still want to see it grow. But I love the ability to do this. So Carlos, so the person that's working with you, the client, me, right? I have to go get a credit card and keep that on file with your team. and your team is going to purchase onto that credit card, and then Amazon, or whoever you're using as your model, as your store platform, is going to send me a check. How often? Weekly, monthly, for what I'm selling?
That's a great question, and I'm telling you that credit card. I'm glad you brought it up, because like my wife, for example, my wife has her own store. She probably makes $1,500 to $2,000 every single month on rewards alone.
Yeah.
Alone. And I've posted it on social media. I post her checks. If you go to my social media and you look at my highlights, these are checks that come in her name from Capital One Spark. Shout out to Capital One, because they do a great job. And it's cash money in her pocket. We have not paid for a single ticket, rent-a-car, hotel for about 2 years.
I mean, that's the way to do it. I mean, why would you, right? Like, I mean, this is, to me, that was, you know, when I was talking to you, I was just calculating it in my head, and I was like, I just want those points. I mean, like, and if I can make money, then all the better, right? And we're starting to see money. We're making money on it. So the initial investment of, like, let's just say the initial investment's 20,000, Carlos. How, from the initial investment, when do you think that I break even? Like, how many months will it take for my initial investment and everything that we're doing on a credit card to break even? And then also, I also still want you to answer, how quickly do I get paid for what I'm selling on Amazon? I forgot to let you answer that. Sorry.
Yeah, so you're gonna get paid bi-weekly. Right? Amazon, Walmart, they pay every couple of weeks after your store is already established. So it's not gonna happen right away. The first payment takes 30, 45 days, but after you start making money consistently, they will pay you every couple of weeks. And you'll see it in your dashboard. You're gonna have access to it. Mm-hmm. If for some reason you need a little extra cash a little bit sooner, because of the credit card had a funky due date, you could request it from them. They're not gonna send you everything, but they'll allow you to pull out, 65% of the payment or whatever it is, depending on what day it falls. So yeah, so every 2 weeks you're getting paid. We only get paid once, which will be the following month. Now, what was the previous question? Sorry, I went on the rant there.
No, it was good, and I forgot it too. It was, I want to rewind, right? Like, what was the question? Okay, so you were saying, we were talking about, I can't believe I did this. I was like, I got into your other question and then I forgot. But anyway, so okay, well, let's keep going. So, Carlos, I know what it was. When will I retain? And we'll cut all this piece out. When will we retain, or when will we start to recoup our initial investment? How many months do you usually get? Like, so let's say the upstart fee was 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, whatever. When do you expect and advise your client to see a break even mark?
So let's use simple numbers, right? And I'm going to use the low end. You buy a $20,000 store, and the split is 50-50, right? Mm-hmm. You have a $30,000 credit line, and let's say we're maxing out that credit line at 15%. I believe that's $6,000. I hope so.
Okay.
Please don't quote me on this, but I believe it's about $6,000.
4,500, but go ahead.
All right, 4,500. My apologies. So $4,500. Now we have $4,500, and we're gonna divide that by 2, right? So you're keeping $2,250. You're paying us $2,250. Well, if you do that over the course of 10 months, you made your money back and a profit.
There you go. There you go.
Historically, there's some stores. I have a couple of stores. In fact, I'll tell you a story about. You asked me earlier about success stories. I'll tell you a little bit about my friend who came to us from a different provider. But we've had stores to do it in 3 months. We've had stores to do it in 8 months. Historically, 8 to 12 months.
Yeah.
They don't all take off the same way, which I just want to be clear, because I'm that type of guy that's going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. They don't all take off the same way. Think about this as a business, and because it is a business, not every single business is equal. Right?
How many people get pissed off when they see you post about a store doing really well, but their store's not taking off? Do you get DMs on that?
120% of them. Some of them text me twice. and I just tell them, I say, my 2 words for the year. Every year I try to come up with a couple of words that I want to live by. And this year is patience and flexibility, because the business is evolving. There's a lot of moving parts. And hey, without throwing shade on anybody, there's some companies that are not around anymore. We're not. Oh man.
Well, so I'll tell you why. I know I mentioned it earlier, but I want to reiterate this. The reason that I partnered with with Carlos is one, he had been referred to me. I listened. It's weird the way that it happened, but I listened to a podcast, and there was a guy on the podcast. I won't mention his name only because I don't want to throw shade, and I don't want to put any negative energy out there. But there was an individual on a podcast, and I'd heard about the drop ship model, right, and this automation model, and I was very interested in it. I was like, wow, like I didn't even know about this, right? So I was thinking about it, and one of my buddies that I work with, I'll say his name, Chioki, who is one of your clients, he had mentioned to me, like, he had been talking about this like the week before, and it was so far over my head that I didn't really, it didn't latch on. So then I heard the podcast, and I was like, okay, I think that might be the same thing. So I asked him, and he said, yeah, you got to talk to my guy Carlos. But by that point, I had already made my decision. I was going to use the other company also, right? So anyway, still went with you. I think we bought 3 stores, pretty quickly out the gates, and then my other buddy had told me that he went back to that guy on the initial guy and did a Facebook store, and he said because Facebook is opening up the store, the marketplace, and you can get it up and running overnight, and it's like almost immediate, right? So I said, okay, well, may as well, right? So we go through that, and one, I've never seen a profit from it. I think we've sold a handful of products on it. It just isn't getting any traction, and they're not letting me out of it. And I'm like, can you just switch it to an Amazon store? Wouldn't it make sense that we would both make more money over there? Let's just flip it. I'll do all the work on the LLCs and everything, whatever you need, but because we already have a process flow on this, and they wouldn't do it. They're like, no, we're just going to wait this out. And I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. And so I was so mad at myself for not just sticking with you on it. Because I know that anytime I've ever come to you with any questions, you guys are Johnny on the spot with answers. Ryan, who works on the operational side, is amazing on this. But guys, I mean, this guy's the real deal. He, and I said it before, he's a family man. He's made his way through this. He's learned so many lessons with it, but he's also has his own stores. And so he's in this, right? This is the guy to work with. Carlos, how do people find you if they want to do business with you?
So just like we have a couple of different ways that you could, and I want to, if you don't mind, I just want to go back to the agreement, because you mentioned it a couple of times, and I haven't actually said it myself. We do have a guarantee on our agreements, and I wrote that guarantee into myself, which is probably why my personality comes across.
I liked it. We were even talking about, I was like, dude, this is a funny contract. I like this, dude.
I don't want to do business with anybody that doesn't want to do business with me. You're not tied up to me for any specific period of time. I'm not going to force you to stay. If you want your money back, and I have the proof to show this, you will get your money back. Why? Because I know how it feels to not get your money back. I also did business with a previous provider, which I'm not going to mention. I also don't want to put that energy out there, but I lost my money, and I'm not going to say how much it was, but it was a pretty significant amount of money for me.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was pretty painful, but I believed in the model because I was already doing it myself. And I was selling in eBay, I was selling in Amazon myself. I had a partner who was one of my best friends that was doing it too, and making a killing. So I believed in the model. So I said, okay, this company didn't do it the right way, but there is a right way to do this. And I need to figure it out, and I need to become an expert. Absolutely, we have that guarantee. All we require is a 30-day notice in writing. Just write me an email. Carlos, you suck. I want my money back. And I will help you myself move your store to whoever you want to go with. To this day, we've given out refunds. I'm not going to sit here and tell you we haven't given out refunds, but to this day, we haven't had anybody leave us to go to another provider.
Yeah,
we've had
that's
issues.
Amazing.
Yeah, we have issues. A store got terminated, a store couldn't get approved, and we give the money back. But we've never had anybody leave us because they thought that somebody else was going to do it better.
Guys, there is levels of risk to this, right? There is levels of risk, and there is an insane amount of flexibility and patience that you have to have with this process. But, and I'm not trying to sell you, I'm just giving you options because I there's not a lot of people that I come into and that really resonate with their background with me as Carlos did. And Carlos, thank you for coming on today, man, and sharing your story with us, sharing, your personal, how you came up and getting really personal with us. Cause that, means a lot to me. And I can sit here and talk to you for another hour, because I do want to hear more about this. But guys, if you want to do business with Carlos, make sure you tell him that you heard it from the Chris Medellin show and the podcast, because that way he knows how influential this process could be as he starts to go out there and continue to build his brand and promote his stores. But I'm a big fan of him. I'm a customer, I'm a client, and I can't tell you what a stand-up dude this guy has been throughout the process. And so, Carlos, thank you so much. How do people find you again? Tell us again.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you, Chris. I'm honored to be here. I never take these things for granted. I just want to make an impact where I can. So if you're looking for me, you'll find me on Instagram, official_Carlos_Colon. You can check out our websites, aceautomation.biz, or if you're looking for financial services, you could go to acefg.com, which stands for Ace Financial Group, acefg.com. And then on Facebook, Carlos E. Colon, on LinkedIn, Carlos E. Colon, and that's how you find us. And then, anything that we could do to provide service, even if it's just a couple of questions to make sure that you're being pointed the right direction, we got you.
My man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you doing this, dude. Good luck out there, and everybody have a great day. Stay safe, wash your hands, and stay healthy, guys. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Let me turn this.